and welcome. It's an absolutely glorious end of June day and I have a day free from work. So I'm going to spend it in the garden. It's still quite early, we're only about 8:30 in the morning, so it's relatively cool, though it is promised to get hotter later. I'm not sure which jobs I'm going to tackle. There's always plenty to be done. So this is either going to be a very long video with lots and lots of little things, or a very short video with one big job. I have no idea. But the first thing I'm going to do is go and water inside the polytunnel because I didn't do it last night and I want to get in there before things get too hot. First job now I'm here, is feed the fishies. Oh, let me get the food into camera shot, there we go. Bit more for you hungry lot. Okay, enough of fish. Time to get back to the garden. In my newly tidied flower beds at the entrance to the polytunnel, the persimmon is faring very nicely. Been here a good week or more now and is still looking nice and healthy. My begonia, on the other hand, is definitely suffering. I don't know if it's just too hot in here for it or if it's catching too much sun. The edges of the leaves are getting a bit crispy and dead and dry, so I'm going to try and set up a bit of shade for it. I've got these funny little spiky bits. I don't know what they are. I picked them up free on the roadside. Someone else was getting rid of them. I think these would do quite nicely with this old mushroom crate. So I'm going to rest the mushroom crate into these spikes to give me a little roof over the top of my begonia and hopefully give it a little bit of shade protection if I can line these up accurately. So I've got one there already, and oh, that shouldn't be too bad. One there, there, and at the back corners there. Give this thing some legs. Oh, and one over there. Round we go. A little bit of a wobbly fiddle, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. Perfect. It's not super strong or sturdy, but because we're indoors in the polytunnel, it doesn't need to be. There's no wildlife to disturb it and no howling gales. So hopefully this will help shade it a little. Still let the light in, but a bit of protection from that glaring midday sun. It won't do much about the heat though. Everything else in the new beds is doing very nicely, just that begonia that's suffering. And my little balloon plant is flowering like crazy. Lots of lovely, delicate pink flowers. My other balloon plant that is still in a pot has a deep purple flower. Let's go and take a look and see if it's actually flowering. The dahlias have buds on as well. This bed needs mulching. I cut the grass a few days ago, so there's plenty of mulch to spare. So that's a job for today as well. Get some mulch on this bed. In fact, I think I'll do it next. So I've just been out and collected up some of my favourite dry grass clippings, and I shall scatter it around all of these plants quite liberally to help keep in the moisture as I water them and suppress any weeds that want to be popping up. This had a fresh layer of compost on top, So hopefully that'll slow down new weeds as well and feed the plants. Yes, there are some seed heads in my grass clippings at this time of year, and there's a risk that some of them are going to want to germinate. But because I've been grass mulching for many years now, with a no-dig, root stout raised bed gardening style, if things start to pop up green grassy bits, they're so easy to pull out. I'd rather that than dandelions and daisies and thistles and stinging nettles and all the other multitude of things that want to grow. And in here in the polytunnel, I often have things germinating that are good plants that I want. Various vegetables or flowers that I have grown in the past and left to go to seed. But although it's a nice plant, this is not where I want it. There we go, snugging in around those stems. Now you want to try and avoid the grass actually making lots of contact with the stem of your plant. Just leave a little space around it so you're not causing any rot, but liberally covering everything else. So having put down all my grass, I'll just go around each plant and just open up the grass a little around its stem. Right, let's get round the front. So mow your lawn, cut the grass without picking it up, leave it in those stripes the lawnmower leaves behind. Give it a day or two to dry out, and then gather it up and mulch your garden beds with it. Lovely, free, indoors or out. Free weed suppressant, moisture retention, fantastic. I forgot we were going to look at this. Here's that other balloon plant I have, still in its pot, with dark purple flowers. One day I'll decide where I'd like to plant it. Tomato plants are all producing wonderfully. I have lots of moneymaker and gardener's delight. This particular plant is called Shirley. It's one I picked up at the garden centre this year. I've not grown Shirley before, so I'll be interested to see what sort of flavour it gives and what sort of size tomato it has, because I haven't researched it, so I don't know quite what to expect. They're looking good though. So along in the next bed we have some gardener's delight coming on nicely. Yet more gardener's delight on the other side of the tunnel. And here we have some moneymaker. There are actually two plants here growing side by side. When I potted them into the ground, they were too close together to be disrupting them. It's a bit awkward twisting them up this one single supporting string. I generally twist one plant around the string and the second plant around the first plant. They seem to be doing okay. And the cucumber is going wonderfully crazy. I've had 3 cucumbers off it already, and I think I need to be harvesting again today. I move some leaves. Oh, cucumbers everywhere. So I think I'll definitely take this one, and probably that one as well. I'm just going to twist it till it snaps off. Better off cutting, I think. Cucumber sandwiches for lunch. But after afternoon tea with cucumber sandwiches. Lovely. Lots more to come. And up here as well. Yay! Another money maker tomato. These are looking really good. Nice and fat. And for dessert, after our cucumber sandwiches, some blackberries. Yay! They're gorgeous. I must remember to bring the truck into here. I keep forgetting, end up wanting to harvest things, I've got nothing to put it in. So I've washed out my flower pot tray, ready to put my black currants in, ready to put my blackberries in. The blackberry I have in here is a thornless blackberry, and I do grow it outdoors, and this particular plant sneaked its way in here somehow. So I let it grow this year to see how it would get on. It's a big plant, takes up a lot of space, but I've managed to tie it back against the polytunnel walls. So it's been okay. I've noticed, can I find one? No. I've got quite a few of my berries, have these little white seed sections. Now I'm not sure what that is. They seem fat and plump, even the white seed bits, and they taste the same. They just don't have the purpley blackberry colour, and I'm not sure what that's about. Initially I thought maybe lack of pollination, but they're fat and plump. I would expect them to dry up and shrivel if they weren't pollinated. So I don't know. Any ideas? They taste delicious. So cucumber sandwiches and blackberries for pudding. Oh, sun in my eyes. So one of the first jobs on my list of things to tackle today are my autumn fruiting thornless raspberries. Now the only way I can remember they're an autumn fruiting is they're called Autumn Treasure. But I noticed a few weeks ago they're getting rather overgrown with this grass, so I need to clear around them and give them a new layer of grassy mulch. They have been very neglected since I planted them last spring. They were planted in and watered for a few weeks and given a thick layer of mulch then, and have pretty much been left to their own devices since. So let's get this grassy mess tidied up. Although this is an autumn fruiting variety and should bear nice red juicy fruits between August and September, it is only late June and I already have red fruits on this raspberry bush. Whether it will continue fruiting late into the autumn season, I do not know. Let's hope so. If I look after it well, it just might. Let's take this netting off. Not very secure, just to keep the bunnies out. Oh, not too bad. Not as bad as I first suspected. Taking the wire netting off and getting in close at the bottom of these stems, there is still signs of its original barky mulch. A bit of clearness around the base of these plants. Some sort of spider living in there, I think. Little webby bit. Ooh. Well, that's all right. She can stay. Keep the bugs off my plant. Because I mulched it so well when I first planted them last spring, so a good 18 months ago, this job is nowhere near as hard as it initially looked. I'm able to literally grab hold of the grass and rip it out. And also very, very close to the plant, as I showed you, there are no weeds. It's just around the edges of the mulch-in area. This can all go into the compost and get covered up with other garden weeds and decompose into lovely soil for next year. So while I've exposed this area now, taken the netting away so I can get in, I'm actually going to give it a handful of bloodfish and bone, just scattered on the surface. The future rain will soon work it into the soil for the plant to take up. Generous helping. Ended up with 2 handfuls. And top this area with some fresh grassy mulch. Keep those weeds suppressed and the moisture in. Let's go get some more. Come on, let's have those raspberries. What we got? 1, 2. Is that ready? Not quite. Some more to come. They're a little pink still. Yummy. Oh, delicious. They do have a really good flavour. It's a thornless variety, has a really good taste, so well worth trying. Autumn treasure. I would certainly get it again, but as I have another 3 plants to deal with, I don't need to buy any more just yet. So I have 3 more raspberry bushes to do this with, and then we'll move on to the next garden project. I don't know how much the camera will pick up, but I'm sat on the ground tearing up grass from around this raspberry, and I just looked up at the cherry tree beside me and went, oh wow, cherries! I never get cherries from the cherry tree, mainly because the birds steal them all. I'm going to have a few of those. There's a couple ready today. Even if I only get 2, it'll be fantastic. This cherry is a sunburst, I think it's called. I'll have to check. It's got no label, it's been here too long. Oh, cherries! Yay! Can I have you? Can I have you without breaking the rest of the bunch? Oh, I just want that one. I think I need to go around the other side of the fence. No, can't reach. Let's go get them. Bit of mulch while I'm passing. Add that to the pile. Where's that cherry gone? Yay! Oh, I can't reach that. Want to get it without losing its partner. Not sure I can. Yes. What do you like? Nearly. Have you? Yay! Cherries! Any more? I can reach. Get the step ladder out. Yay! Cherries! I've picked a few underripe but fat. A couple of days in the fruit bowl and they'll ripen up. So I'll have them now before the birds spot them. I'm surprised they haven't had them already. A couple I'm going to try. Yum! Oh, that's amazing. I wasn't looking for cherries or expecting them. I know I have several cherry trees, mainly Stella, a good fruiting variety with lovely tasty fruits. But once it gets a bit too big, there's no chance of reaching them without the birds stealing them all first. Delicious! Bonus crop! Cherries, raspberries and blackberries. Doing well for fruit today. So here I have my Verbascum, and a few weeks ago I spotted the first of the mullein moth caterpillar on the plant. At that point I didn't know what they were, so I went and googled it and found out they were a mullein moth and could also eat buddleia. Now I have a few large buddleia around the property, so I moved the 10 caterpillars I could find and rehomed them on the buddleia. It's big enough to cope with a bit of mulching, and I was happy to save them, but today I have discovered there are about 50 more of the mullein moth caterpillar happily munching their way through my Verbascum, and that is not allowed. Sadly, my fish are coy and vegetarians, so won't eat those juicy fat little caterpillars. I have just been round the plant and picked them all off and dropped them into a bucket of water. When I'm confident they're all dead, I shall pour them into the compost pile to decompose with everything else. It's a shame, they're pretty little things, but there's far too many on these few Verbascum plants. I'm not going to leave them to munch their way through my treasures and boost the population to come back and munch some more next year. Leaves at the bottom of the plant seem to be surviving okay, but as we work our way up the stalk, they are completely decimating the higher levels and heading their way up towards the flowers, munching as they go. So these lovely big fat boys, I'm afraid your minutes are numbered, never mind your days. Big fat, oh, made him jump. They do tend to jump and wiggle when you grab hold of them. It's a shame my koi are vegetarians. I don't think they'll eat them. So I found a wonderful bonus harvest of cherries. But at the moment I'm standing under the green gage tree and there's very little fruit at all this year. I've got 2 on this branch and a couple behind me, but that's it. The green gage is usually laden with fruit. It's looking healthy enough and full of leaves, so maybe something happened weather-wise at blossom time. But definitely no fruit on the green gage this year. Well, half a dozen maybe. Instead, I have lots of cherries that are too high to reach. Now I've done all the raspberries, I'm also going to mulch this grapevine. It's a black muscat grape, a hardy outdoor grape. I don't know how big the grapes actually get. I've never had a grape off it yet, but it is only in its 3rd year for me. Its first year was, well, its first year, so I expected it to struggle a little. Its 2nd year it got munched by a deer, so that really knocked it back. So here in its 3rd year, it's finally looking pretty healthy. I have a green grape. I don't know what variety it is. It has small grapes, white, and they taste delicious. So even though they're small, it's well worth it, and it has lots of bunches. I think it's finally time to release these sunflowers, and hopefully they're big enough to withstand the wildlife. I don't think the slugs are going to be a problem for them anymore. They might still be risk to rabbits though, but I'm hoping they've got big enough to put them off. This one in the side tunnel has already been escaping. Opened up the door about a week ago. It's doing great. It's taller than me now. And it's putting up lots of little side shoots that are each going to bear a flower. So this one's going to look really good if the wildlife doesn't decimate it. Let's let the others out in this little tent. Where to start? I don't know. Here, I think. Unravel that. And we can put this cover on as well. Lots of colours on here. Got this bit. Super safe. I'll tie it on up there. Tie down here. My bottle in your face. I'll put that. Nope, I'll find the wood. There. Oh no, that one ripping. Let's fix down there. I don't know, come get it. Look, come get it. couple of weeds having a nice time under there as well. Put them on the compost. So I'm going to leave the remaining net on this side for the moment and see how these get on. Hopefully they're all still here in a couple of days. I think what I will still do is prop up this plastic garden netting at the back of them. That tends to be the direction the rabbits come in from. So maybe this will be enough of a deterrent to keep them away. I don't think they like this sheet of black plastic at the front. Maybe it makes too much noise when they walk on it. There's a couple of squash plants here as well underneath the sunflowers. A curry and a butternut. No sign of any squash fruits yet though. This one in the neighbouring cage is getting huge. Oh, yellow round squashes. Judging by the little round fruits at the bottom of its flower buds, this big one is a curry. Yeah, what stumpy sunflower? Look at you, really thick and heavy. I'm fortunate enough to have this large grassy meadow area behind me that I am slowly converting into flower beds. Now I say slowly because I have been working on it for a couple of years, and it's no doubt going to take me many more years yet before it looks the way I can picture it in my head. But this year things are finally starting to take shape, as early in the spring I cut into it with the mower and marked out where I want my walking paths to be and where my flower beds are going. So I have been slowly planting into this area over the years. We have the oxeye daisies doing a splendid job. And here I have a John Downey crabapple tree. There's a little hollyhock struggling here. So perhaps if I give that some clearance and a bit of mulch, beef it up a bit. And another section absolutely packed with these wonderful daisies. And this is the kind of look I'm aiming for. Instead of all this tall grass, I want lots more pretty flowers. Well, my plan was to spend all day in the garden doing gardening jobs. It's almost lunchtime and it's getting jolly hot out here. So although I'd love to continue, I think common sense says I should go and find a nice shady spot to settle down for the afternoon and come back out and play this evening when things start to cool off. So time to go in for some lunch. Cucumber sandwiches and a fruity pudding. If you've enjoyed today's video, click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. Bye for now and thanks for watching. And remember, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.